Yo, what's good, guys? It's Austin here, or Luna. So today's story time is an interesting one. Definitely a crazy one. I hope you enjoy it. Leave a like on the video if you do. Also, I'm live when this video goes up, so if you want to come hang out, I'll be leaking some new music maybe, playing some games maybe, chatting you guys. Check it out. First link in the description. Anyway, today's story time all takes place in 10th grade, just like the last story time did. This one is a little bit different in the sense that it involves me screwing up pretty big time. And yeah. Anyway, let's get into this. So, today's story time all takes place, like I said, in 10th grade. I was in my room very early in the morning, getting ready for school, just kind of doing my thing. And I went out in the kitchen, right? Now, before I got on my bus to go to school, I checked the calendar in the kitchen that my mom had. She had this calendar for everyone. She would write down, like, her schedule and everyone else's schedule, including mine. And on this calendar, I saw it said, Thursday, Austin, no school. And I jumped for fucking joy, dude. Like, you know that feeling when you don't know you're about to have a day off and then you find out? Like, whether it's a snow day or, like, a school holiday or something that you didn't know about. It's the best feeling in the world. So I start freaking out, right? I'm like, holy shit, I had no school today? Like, what? And I go into my mom's room, and I was like, Mom, do I have off school today? She's like, yeah. I was like, oh, awesome. She's like, yeah, well, I still have work, so have fun sitting at home. I was like, I will. So my mom gets ready for work. She goes to work. I go in the living room. I kick back. I start watching some cartoons. I'm just chilling, right? I'm enjoying my morning, knowing that I don't have school. And I get to thinking. I get to thinking some very devious thoughts, some very stupid things. Like, well, I'm home alone all day. No one's going to be here all day. My brothers are at school still. I have off school for some reason. My mom's at work. What could I do as a stupid teenager by myself? Now, around this time, I had some shrooms from recently under my bed. So I'm like, I could trip today by myself and no one would know. So I get up, I eat some cereal really quick because I didn't eat anything all day. And then I go into my room and I grab these shrooms out from under my bed. And I go back in the living room and I just start eating them. Like, just no hesitation, no second thought. I just start eating these shrooms, ready to have a trip by myself. Because I really hadn't done that before. Like, it was one of the first times I had been tripping completely alone with no friends around, no, like, distractions. It was going to be a completely by myself trip. So I was kind of excited but also nervous. But I didn't give it any second thought. I just went for it. I started eating them, and I was cool, right? Nothing was going to happen. So I thought, right? Well, fast forward about an hour after eating them, I'm starting to feel some things. I'm starting to feel a bit giggly. I'm seeing a little bit of some visuals. I'm, thinking it's going to be fine, right? Well, all of a sudden, about 20 minutes later, my cell phone starts ringing. I look down. It's from my mom. I'm like, answer my mom's call or ignore it and keep tripping. I'm going to ignore it and keep tripping. So I ignored her call, which is not very nice of me. If I could go back and answer, maybe I would. But it's okay, because she called right back immediately. And I was like, okay. This must be pretty urgent if she's calling me twice. So I still didn't trust myself to talk to her on the phone while I was starting to trip. So I ignored it again, and then I texted her immediately after and said, hey, what's up? And she goes, don't text me, hey, what's up? Just answer the phone. And she calls me again. And I was like, okay, fine. So I answer the phone. I'm like, hey. She goes, hey, guess what? I was like, what? She goes, you have school today. I thought the shrooms were making me hear things. I was like, what'd you say? She goes, you have school today. I misread my calendar. It's actually Friday you have off, not Thursday. So yeah, you gotta go in. I was like, well, I already missed the bus. How do you expect me to get there? She goes, I don't know, ride your bike, have someone pick you up. I was like, Mom, I can't. She goes, what do you mean you can't? I was like, nobody I know drives. That was definitely a lie. I definitely had some friends that drove at this point, but I didn't want to go to school. She was like, okay, well, why don't you ride your bike? I was not about to ride my bike. That shit was far as fuck. I was like, no. She goes, okay, I'm going to ask my boss if I can come get you. And she hangs up. So I start freaking out. I start having a panic attack because the trip's starting to kick in full effect, and apparently I have to go to school. So I immediately go into my room and I get dressed for school because I'm pretty sure I have to go now. And literally 10 minutes later, my mom pulls in the driveway and she beeps her horn. So yeah, I go outside, I get in the car with my mom. She looks at me, she's like, all right, ready for school? I was like, nope, not really. And she was like, yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Like, I wrote it down wrong on the calendar, but hey, at least you have off tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, that's good. Meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, I'm not fucking tripping on shrooms tomorrow, that's for sure. Now, let me tell you, That drive to school that morning with my mom was one of the most interesting drives to school I've ever had. I was looking out the window. I was watching things move on the street that definitely don't move normally. For example, we passed like one of these big mailboxes, and I shit you not, I saw the legs move. Obviously, mailboxes don't walk, and they can't move their legs, but that one wiggled its leg. I saw it clear as day. Obviously, that was probably the shrooms talking, but it was interesting, right? So I'm like enjoying the ride as much as I possibly can, and we get to school. And this is really where the hell begun. I walked into school, I walked up to the front desk, I was like, hey, sorry I'm late. My mom wrote it down wrong on the calendar. She thought that today was off, not tomorrow. So I'm sorry, I'm late. And the lady at the desk was like, it's okay, just go to your class. So I leave, I go downstairs. I think at this point it was third period. So I walk into third period halfway through class, and everyone looks at me, all eyes on me, well fucking tripping. And my teacher goes, Austin, glad you could join us. Have a seat. And I was like, okay. And I sit down, and she tells me to flip to this page in my book. And for some reason, I can't find it. I start flipping through this book, this textbook, and I can't find the page we're on. Like, I'm looking over at people's books, and when I try and look at the image on the book, it's moving, and it is hard to read. Like, I could read a little bit, but not very well, just due to the fact that for some reason the lights were off in class, and I was, just tripping a little bit. And at one point, I look over at this girl next to me, and I was like, hey, what page are we on again? She was like, 38. Did you not just hear the teacher tell you? Like, mad rude. And I was like, sorry, no. And she goes, okay, well, 38. And the teacher looks at me, and she's like, Austin, you okay? I was like, yeah, I just couldn't find the page. She goes, 38. I'm like, okay, 38. So I go and I look for it again. I still can't find it. I'm just that stupid, I guess. It gets to the point where the teacher has to come over to me and flip to the page for me. And right when she gets to the page, she was having people read. And she goes, Austin, why don't you read this last part right here for everybody? This fucker made me read to the entire class while the words were moving. Now let me tell you, I have public speaking problems in general. Like, you put me in front of 100 people on a stage, like, I'm gonna shit myself. You put me in front of 100 people on a stage on shrooms, I'll probably shit myself even harder and then fall over and pass out. So yeah, you best believe when she called on me to read to the entire class while tripping, and especially off a book that I have to use my eyes to read, it's a little hard when things are moving around on the page. But let me tell you, I killed that shit. To this day, I don't really know what it looked like from someone else's perspective, but I think in my mind I killed that shit. No one laughed at me. I seemed to read it pretty good. I kind of snapped out of it for a second. And after that, I remember being so, relieved that it was over that I looked over at the girl that sat next to me and I smiled for no reason. Like, I was just happy it was over. And she goes, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, sorry. I was just happy that was over. And she was like, yeah, I don't like reading stuff either. And she's being nice now, which was cool. But then for some reason, I just told her the truth. Don't really know why. I don't know if it was the shrooms or just me being stupid that day. But I was like, hey, guess what? She was like, what? I was like, I'm tripping right now. She goes, tripping? Like, tripping how? I was like, like mushrooms. And she gives me the dirtiest look. And she goes, that's pretty stupid, to be honest. Don't do that anymore. And she turns around and goes back to reading. Yeah, I learned my lesson real quick that I shouldn't be telling people because clearly some people did not want to hear that. Now, the rest of the day was actually fairly mellow. I had gym after that, and I just kind of sat in the corner and didn't really do anything. I'm pretty sure I got a 0 that day for gym because I didn't do anything, but it was better than trying to run a mile while on shrooms. And the rest of the classes after that weren't too bad. Like, it kind of mellowed out after a while, and it kind of wore off. So eventually I felt okay, and I could get through the day. But that first period or two was really fucking difficult. Like, super anxiety-inducing, super scary. But yeah, luckily later in the day it kind of wore off a bit. I still felt it a little bit, but definitely not nearly as much. The only really shitty thing that happened later in the day is I got super nauseous, and I almost puked at one point, but luckily I didn't. And yeah, needless to say, the next day when I did have off school, I didn't do shit. I just laid around. I didn't even touch the shrooms. I didn't even think about them. Like, I just didn't even want to. So yeah, moral of the story is, just don't do the shit I said in this story time because it led to a very unfun day. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed this story time. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all later. Peace.